guys, let's talk about this episode. I am driving right now and I apologize. This is my only time to do this right now, so I'm gonna get it out of the way. So ignore any background noise and let's talk about this episode. This episode was a roller coaster of emotions for me. Talking about these small dismissible cases that were just extended into these awful hearings that were not rooted in fairness, rooted in proceedings and procedures and trust that law enforcement is telling the truth here. And we can clearly see that they lied under oath and got Hermes kind of in a sticky situation after the horrific brutality that he faced this one evening. So we hear from Hermes that his orbital bone was fractured in a beating that he endured from off-duty police officers who confronted him in his apartment building, tased him several times, kicked him, kneed him, punched him, all for a marijuana cigarette in his pocket. I mean, in this city, I guess any amount of marijuana is arrestable, is chargeable, and it's kind of funny how we see these equations on either side almost every single time we see a case like this. We see officers stacking charges so that the prosecution can get something to stick, and so that these cases aren't suppressed or dismissed in any sort of way, so that the officers can feel good about what they've done in their proceeding, and hopefully just get out of court quicker. And it's kind of funny. And then on the flip side, we see the defense just waiting. It's a long game. It's just a waiting game for them, denying plea deals, accepting guilt for minimal charges, minimal fines. And in Hermes' case, we see that they pushed for a suppression of his case and of his resisting arrest after he was put into handcuffs, or thrown on the ground for resisting arrest because he had no idea what they were arresting him for. I believe that Hermes' case is just such a true example about how these small dismissible cases can turn into these gateway points, or these entry points, or these fruit of poisonous trees for police brutality. Whether or not the police wanted to get physically violent with this man, it happened, it was avoidable, and Hermes paid the consequence for it, and suffered directly and indirectly victimization from this endeavor. And it is very upsetting to see, or it was very upsetting to hear Sarah Koenig say that offenders' actions create reactions. Sorry, hold on, let me think about it. Offenders' actions create reactions from law enforcement, justified or not. So the reaction that Hermes had when he kind of stiffened his arm up when asking, "What am I being arrested for?" and then proceeded to be thrown on the ground and beaten, is just absolutely insane to me. How we can look at these minor that's what you want to call them, and justify the reaction from law enforcement. And it's sad how, I mean, even in Tamir Rice's case, we hear that he was a 12-year-old boy in a grown man's body. That's not his fault. That's not his fault, but that was justification for the police officers shooting him dead, shooting him in the stomach and him dying because he was a young man in a grown man's body playing with a toy gun. It's interesting because we hear also that Sarah says that these are kind of the key or the coined terms that judges want to hear to justify the actions of law enforcement. We hear he was reaching for his waistband. We smelt marijuana. Well, in Hermes's case, that whole building smelled like marijuana, not just him. So what makes him so? What made him special? Because he was knocking on a door? It's interesting. It's very interesting. And after being kneed, they also used the term reaching for his waistband in Hermes's case as well, because he was kneed in the groin, and when he went down to kind of like protect himself, he was seen as reaching in his waistband after they had already done a weapons pat down and didn't find any weapons, but found a bulge in his pocket, which led them to finding his marijuana cigarette. It's just interesting. And I think that police brutality is such a slippery slope, and law enforcement can get so smart with their reports and the way that they testify in court, the way that there is a preconceived bias towards law enforcement and their trustworthiness rather than any sort of defendant's trustworthiness of their testimony. And it just seems like this unbalanced scale that even Tamir Rice's mother kind of pointed out or confronted at the beginning of the episode. That Cleveland, Ohio has been corrupt for 70 plus years. And what are they going to do about it? Because they don't take time for self-reflection. And then they ask the community, what can we do to help? What can we do to fix it? Physician, heal thyself. Physician, heal thyself. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. You don't need the community to fix your problem. You need to look inward and fix your corruptedness as a peace officer who works for the community. Instead of working for the community, it seems like the city of Cleveland and surrounding cities work against the community. I don't know. Food for thought. Bye, guys.